All right, we're unscripted and off the dome, but I got to get something out to talk about this new Kendrick Lamar album, GNX, that came out surprisingly this past Friday the 22nd. Initially, I didn't think I was going to do any content around it because I didn't have a lot to say. I really enjoyed it, but it's an oddly satisfying album. And I say that not because it's in any way bad. I've been bumping it nonstop for the last 72 hours or so. But for a Kendrick Lamar album, it's not what I'm usually looking for or highly interested in from him. That said, it's still pretty fucking spectacular. It's him further kind of proving his status as like the best creative force in hip hop right now, at least at the mainstream level. Like, my first thought is wondering how and why and what this album really is gonna end up being, because I'm of the mind of many other Kendrick fans that this is, I'm not gonna call it an appetizer, and I'm not gonna say it's not an album, but I don't think this is it. And there's a couple of reasons for that. Some of this is just like the cryptic stuff people do. Like, somebody pointed out that in the preview for the album, there were 2 GNX cars in it. So, you know, there's something there. More significantly, if you go and you listen to that preview snippet, that song that's there, that song isn't on the album. That's nowhere to be found. We don't know where that exists. It's more than likely going to exist on whatever future project that comes out. Furthermore, and I hope people don't take this the wrong way, this album in some unique ways for Kendrick is relatively low effort. Now, I want people to understand me here. Low effort for Kendrick is regular effort for most other rappers, right? If you're not Tyler the Creator or JPEG Mafia or whatever, then low effort Kendrick is probably more effort than you're putting into your biggest release possible. And I say that for a couple of reasons. Number one, a lot of the details coming out about it indicate that some of the parts on this album are only a few months old. The song, I don't know if it's GNX or one of the songs toward the end, supposedly he got the beat for that like 2-3 days before the album dropped. The Spanish mariachi singer, supposedly he just met 2 months ago. Then there's also not so much rehash, but like highly influenced content on the album. One of the best songs on the album, Turn the TV Off, the first half of it is clearly a remix of the Not Like Us beat. In a good way, it still goes hard because Not Like Us was a huge hit for a reason. But that's unlike Kendrick. The last song on the album is clearly the melody for Daddy Issues from Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. There's a song that is clearly influenced by One Mic. In a good way, it feels like an homage and not, you know, outright theft. There's a beat that he took from an old Tupac song. And there's a couple of other things. But at the end of the day, from what we expect from Kendrick, that's just not how he usually treats his like full-fledged put out to the world albums. That's more like what we got on Section 80. To a lesser extent, Untitled Unmastered, because Untitled Unmastered I think is amazing and conceptually very high. It's just stuff that didn't make it to the album. But you get my point. There's parts of this that don't feel like the big, like, conceptual Kendrick thing that we're used to. Maybe he didn't want to do that. Maybe, so I could be wrong. It might just be Kendrick recognizing that he also needs to put on his clown shoes. If you watch my aftermath video from the election, that's something I mentioned, I've been mentioning a lot lately, that as much as, you know, the artistically inclined of us like to indulge in our creative interests, if our goals are actually real public, social, political, economic change, we may need to pull back from that a little bit to meet people where they actually are, to make sure our ideas are coming across. So considering that Kendrick is in this position where he is the biggest arbiter of hip hop culture for the first time in his career and is the only major arbiter with a voice right now, he's saying to himself, okay, let me give the people exactly what they want before giving them what I think they need. That's one interpretation. Either way, again, I don't want it to be mistaken that I think that this album is bad. There's only one song I don't like, which some people like. It's the one that's like, what are they talking about? They're talking about nothing. They're talking about, they're talking about nothing. They're talking about. And like, I get it. That shit's catchy, but that one just didn't do it for me. Every other song on the record is fucking amazing. Like Whacked Out Mural is dope. I like some of the messaging on that. You probably already know he threw a couple of subliminals at like Andrew Schultz, a little subliminal at Wayne, which, you know, I'm a big Wayne. I'm a big Wayne fan, so I hope that doesn't turn into some other nonsense, but this is hip hop, you never know. Luther is freaking amazing. Like the back and forth between him and SZA there, and like the various different melodies. Like sometimes when I see or hear something that's so good that I just get angry, because it's like, man, why couldn't I have been there when they were coming up with this? Because what does it feel like to make something really, really dope? I have that feeling sometimes. Sometimes I'll make some shit, I'll put a line in the video or think about like the way a shot's gonna work or whatever and be like, yeah, that's gonna kill him. I don't think my shit compares to some of the stuff that I see in reality. And so having Kendrick and SZA go through like 5 different melody notes throughout this song, it's the same beat, but somehow they find 3 or 4 different ways to go back and forth with each other over this song. And every one of them was like, oh, this is really like, this shit is amazing. That's probably the best overall song on the album. My favorite is Hey Now. The beginning of it is pretty good, but once he gets to the spaceships on Rosecrans part and whoever Dodie 6 comes in, that's another thing about this that makes you think this isn't like the full major release, is that there's very few. Like I think Roddy Ricch is on this and Ty Dolla $ign, I think. But other than that, all the other rappers that appear on the album are just kind of like local LA dudes who are very small, which is dope for him to try to give him some shine. And whoever this Dodie 6 guy is, he definitely made sure that you paid attention to him. I think of all the guest verses on the entire album, his is the most impactful. And I could go on down the line just naming all the dope songs, but that's not my thing. My thing is usually to give you bigger context analysis of what I think. And that's the thing. In a bigger context, to me, this is just some new dope music to put out before the Super Bowl. That's it. Super Bowl's in 3 months in February. He's performing at it. There's a literal line from the biggest banger of the album and the breakout hit, clearly, Takeoff, where he does the mustard part. There's a line where he says, in New Orleans, like I'm coming from LA or something like that, where he's talking about being at the Super Bowl. The whole point of that line is for him to perform it at the Super Bowl. I don't know how much of this will be on the Super Bowl performance, but that's what this is really about. He hadn't dropped new music for real that he could make since 2023, maybe 2022, possibly, with Mr. Brown, the Big Steppers. There's rumors that Drake is putting cease and desist out for Not Like Us and stuff like that. And, you know, some of his hits like Black of the Berry, I don't think they're gonna do that at the Super Bowl. He's gotta do his hits, and he didn't have like Super Bowl pop culture hits like that to make sure that he was ready to rock that type of audience. So he went to the stew and cooked up something to make sure he can rock that type of audience. That's what this is to me. This doesn't, I mean, there's stuff there to chew on if I really wanted to dig deeper. Shout out to Professor Sky, who I've already seen digging into this. And so there is stuff there. I'm not really all that interested in digging through it because it's outside of where I usually want to go with things. There's good stuff there. It's a very great record, and I don't know where I would rank it because, like, again, Kendrick's worst album is like any other top tier rapper's top 3 album, right? It's just, and I don't know what his worst album is. Is it this? Is it Damn? Is it Section 80? Good luck with that. Y'all argue about that in the comments. Rank the Kendrick albums from 1 to 7 if you include 7, Section 80, Good Kid, Mad City, To Pimp a Butterfly, Damn, Mr. Brown, Big Steppers, this, and then Untitled Madness. I was right. Have some musty hip hop arguments in the comment section. That shit brings me joy. That's pretty much all I got for y'all with this one, y'all. I'm FD Signifier, and this has been Light Work.